Recruiting, more specifically quarterback recruiting, is one of my favorite things. I love seeing where guys go to school, who's going to be the future of a certain program, and where guys originally went. If just a few quarterbacks went to the schools they originally committed to, college football would have been changed forever. Today's video is going to be part one of an ongoing series where I talk about players who originally committed to different schools and how it would affect everything. For example, in today's video we're going to talk about 15 different quarterbacks who actually originally committed to different programs but ended up flipping, and we're going to talk about how that happened and its ripple effect on college football. But before we do, nearly 80% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel for the upcoming season, and we can do better than that, so be sure to hit that button, smash that like button for the algorithm, let me know another topic I could do next, and now let's get started. Today's video goes in no particular order, so let's jump straight into it. Many of you guys know Mac Jones is the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots and the guy who was a star for Alabama for a year. Yeah, he did start part of 2019, but he is mostly known for his performance in 2020. Did you know he was actually originally a Kentucky Wildcat? Yes. In fact, Mac Jones was very under the radar at this point, and he actually had originally committed to Mark Stoops in the Kentucky program in July of 2015. Sadly, he then started to blow up, and then Nick Saban flipped him. What could have been for Kentucky had they landed him? The second guy we need to talk about is Justin Fields. He's a starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears right now, and he had a great 2-year stretch with the Ohio State Buckeyes. That may not have happened though. Originally, Justin Fields committed to Penn State. This was because of their offensive coordinator Joe Moorhead, but as many of you guys know, Moorhead left to take the Mississippi State job, so Fields reopened his recruitment and eventually settled on Georgia. After a year there, he transferred to Ohio State, and the rest is history. This would have caused a major ripple effect on college football, as Justin Fields could have been a starter instead of Sean Clifford, and who knows how much better that team could have been. Dwayne Haskins had one of the best single-season performances in college football history, as he was the starting quarterback for Ohio State back in 2018. As we all know, he ended up going in the first round of the 2019 NFL Draft, but did you know that he in fact was originally committed to a different school? Haskins came out of the DC area, so he actually originally decided to take his talents to Maryland. Sadly, that would not last, as Haskins would eventually reopen it and commit to Ohio State. This would have changed everything because Joe Burrow likely stays at Ohio State, maybe Maryland football gets a little bit better, and this really does have a huge ripple effect on things. The next guy is Bryce Young. Currently, he has the best odds to win the 2021 Heisman Trophy, and whether he deserves it or not, that's what the odds say right now. Well, Bryce Young was not originally a Bama player. In fact, he actually originally committed to USC. Even though the Trojans had been struggling, Bryce Young had reaffirmed his commitment to Clay Helton, but as we all know, Young decided to reopen it, and he flipped to Alabama, where he is now the starting quarterback. The next guy we need to talk about is Peyton Thorne. He has helped lead the resurgence of Michigan State football, and right now they are undefeated going into this weekend's game against Michigan. Back it up though. Thorne was never really a big deal. He was only a 3-star recruit for a little while, and he had actually originally committed to Western Michigan. Wow, that would have changed a lot of things. Michigan State would be without their best quarterback, and Western Michigan would have gotten a steal. If Michigan State had another guy in the lineup, this undefeated season likely doesn't happen, and it definitely has a ripple effect on college football. The next guy is Matt Corral. Originally, he was the number 1 quarterback in his class and was right there with Trevor Lawrence. He actually had originally committed to USC, but he later decided to flip to Florida. Corral would have been great for the Gators in my opinion, but unfortunately, Dan Mullen wanted Emory Jones instead, and Corral decided to take his talents to Ole Miss. Obviously, Corral had an up and down first 2 years at Ole Miss, but in 2021, he has been a superstar, and he has really helped lead the rise of Ole Miss football. Had he just stayed at USC or Florida, this would have changed everything and caused a bunch of different dominoes to fall a bunch of different ways. Speaking of Florida quarterbacks, Felipe Franks. You guys probably remember him, right? He was the guy who threw the Hail Mary against Tennessee and started for multiple years as a Gator. Well, he was actually originally not committed there. He was committed to a different SEC school by the name of LSU. Franks originally verbally committed there, but he later changed his mind and decided on both Florida and Arkansas to finish out his career. Another big-time quarterback coming out of the SEC Eastern Division was Jake Fromm. Many of you guys know him as the dude who led Georgia to the national title and then sort of plateaued after that. Fromm was always a big deal, and he actually originally committed to Alabama. I actually did a video about this a couple months ago if you want to check that out, but Fromm going to Bama would have changed a lot of different things, and it makes me wonder if that Georgia 2017 season would have even happened. Tajh Boyd was the first big-time quarterback that Clemson had to start the new era of Clemson football. It went Tajh Boyd, then Deshaun Watson, then Trevor Lawrence, and sadly DJU has not panned out, but Boyd was the first one of that group, and he was a college football superstar for multiple years. Well, Boyd was actually originally committed to Tennessee. Had he actually gone to the Volunteers, not only could they have been better, but Clemson likely doesn't have their guy. Without Boyd, I don't know how the Tigers would have done, and it's safe to say Boyd had a huge effect on college football. Derek King rewrote the record books at Houston and has become one of the top statistical quarterbacks in college football over the last few years. Sadly, he is likely done with football as he suffered a season-ending injury, but King has been a big deal. Did you know, coming out of Manville, Texas, he was actually the backup to Kyle Trask? You probably did by now. But did you also know that he was actually originally committed to TCU? He was going to stay home and play for the Horned Frogs, but Gary Patterson wanted him to move to wide receiver. Because of that, he decided to decommit from the program and commit to Houston. From there, he became the starting quarterback for Major Applewhite and had his weird redshirt year with Dana Holgorsen, and then transferred to Miami where he has started the last year and a half. Had King have gone to TCU, it really could have helped the Horned Frogs as they have really struggled with quarterback play over the last 3 years, and maybe we would have seen Houston and Miami do a little bit worse. As we get to the last 5 quarterbacks of today's video, please be sure to take a quick moment to hit that like button, subscribe if you have not already, drop another quarterback that you know committed elsewhere, because I'm definitely going to make a part 2. First of 5 we're going to talk about is Brock Vandagriff. Not a lot of college football has happened while Vandagriff has been around, but it definitely had a ripple effect on this season alone. Vandagriff was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school, and actually originally decided to take his talents to Oklahoma. Why is this a big deal? Because when he decommitted from Oklahoma, that led Caleb Williams to come in. Had Vandagriff stayed committed, Williams probably would have went to either LSU or Maryland, and that would have changed the course for those schools, and it would have changed everything for Oklahoma. I don't know if Vandagriff is at the same level of readiness as Caleb Williams, and with Spencer Rattler's struggles, Oklahoma may have lost a couple more games this year, or they could have been even better. Vandagriff is a huge what if and a huge question mark, and I'm excited to watch him at Georgia. With Mitch Trubisky and Larry Fedora, North Carolina football was a rising program, and they would need another guy to lead the team. Well, Fedora went out and landed a 4-star recruit by the name of Tyler Shough. Many of you guys know who Shough is, but he actually originally committed to the Tar Heels before he would flip to Oregon. He ended up starting last year for the Ducks, but he did struggle a little bit and was eventually benched in favor of Anthony Brown. From there, Shough went on the transfer to Texas Tech, where he had a great start to this year, but he ended up breaking his collarbone and is done for the year. This changes everything. Had he gone to North Carolina, he likely would have played right away, and maybe the Tar Heels wouldn't have recruited Sam Howell. Oregon would have had to find someone else, and he likely doesn't go to Texas Tech. This affects 3 schools, and despite Shough not being a superstar by any means, he had an effect. The next one is an example of a guy who didn't pan out, who could have really changed the trajectory of a blue blood program. His name was Bailey Hochman. He was a star coming out of the Georgia high school football system and actually originally committed to Mark Richt in the Georgia Bulldogs. It didn't last long as Hochman eventually flipped to Florida State, and then he transferred to NC State, and then he transferred to Middle Tennessee. Had Hochman stayed committed to Georgia, they may not have gotten Justin Fields, and this would have been a big bust at the quarterback spot for them. Florida State also could have went out and got someone else, and same with NC State. The next guy I want to talk about is McKenzie Milton. Coming out of Hawaii, he grew up as childhood friends with Tua Tagovailoa, and both of them were big deals in the area. Milton wasn't as high profile as Tua was, but he still had a Division I scholarship. He was going to stay home and play for Hawaii. He actually originally committed to the Rainbow Warriors and was prepared to go there until he got an offer from Scott Frost to go to UCF. Well, Milton went there, pretty much played immediately, rewrote the record books there, and led them to 2 straight undefeated seasons. Yeah, if Milton had gone to Hawaii, this would have changed a lot of things. Finally, the last guy we're going to talk about is Michigan's current quarterback, Cade McNamara. Michigan is undefeated right now, and they will play another undefeated team in Michigan State this weekend. And it's funny that both starting quarterbacks originally committed to different schools. Thorne to Western Michigan, and McNamara to Notre Dame. McNamara had one of the best careers in Nevada football history, and actually decided to commit to Notre Dame. He would eventually decommit though and go to Michigan, and had he gone to Notre Dame, then they might not recruit Drew Pine, Danny Clark, or Tyler Buckner, and Michigan would have had to find someone else. So yeah, in today's video we talked about 15 quarterbacks who committed to different schools, and I found this to be very interesting. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to hit that like button, leave your thoughts down in the comment section, give me another topic I could do next, and also another quarterback or player who originally committed elsewhere. If this video does well, I want to do a lot more of them, so be sure to drop that, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen, including 10 quarterbacks who originally committed to Tennessee. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.